Ever wonder what really happened after the Berlin Wall fell? We were told it was the end of history, the ultimate victory for freedom and capitalism. But what if I told you the story we were sold was a lie? What if the collapse of the Soviet Union wasn't an end, but a beginning? The beginning of the single greatest wealth transfer in human history, a heist so audacious, it made America the world's untouchable superpower and set the stage for the world we live in today. Forget the history books. We're about to uncover the real story, the one that's been hidden in plain sight. This isn't just about the fall of an empire, it's about the birth of a new one. In the late 1980s, the Soviet Union was a giant on life support. Its centrally planned economy, once a symbol of industrial might, was sputtering. Long lines for basic goods, rampant shortages, and a crushing military budget had brought the empire to its knees. The people were losing faith. From Moscow to Minsk, a desire for change was in the air. Mikhail Gorbachev's policies of glasnost, or openness, and perestroika, or restructuring, were meant to be the cure. They were supposed to reform the system, to breathe new life into a dying ideology. Instead, they opened a Pandora's box. The moment the state loosened its iron grip, the entire structure began to crumble. One by one, the republics of the Soviet Union declared their independence. The Cold War, that 50-year standoff that had defined the 20th century, was over. On Christmas Day 1991, the red flag with the hammer and sickle was lowered from the Kremlin for the last time. The world celebrated. It seemed like a new dawn, but in the chaos and confusion, something else was happening. A new kind of war was beginning, not one of bombs and missiles, but of balance sheets and backroom deals. As Russia stumbled into a new era, it was desperate for guidance. And who better to offer it than the architects of the winning system? A team of Western economic advisors, many from prestigious American universities and institutions like the IMF and World Bank, descended on Moscow. Their prescription was simple and brutal: shock therapy. The idea was to transition Russia from communism to capitalism virtually overnight. This meant freeing all prices, slashing government spending, and most crucially, mass privatization. In theory, it was supposed to create a vibrant market economy. State-owned assets, everything from giant oil fields and steel mills to local bakeries, were to be sold off to the public. Every Russian citizen was given a voucher, a small share in the country's vast industrial wealth. It was pitched as the ultimate act of economic democracy. But the reality was a catastrophe. The Russian public, unfamiliar with stocks and markets and struggling with hyperinflation that made their life savings worthless, didn't know what to do with these vouchers. Imagine getting a piece of paper that says you own a tiny fraction of a massive complex factory. What do you do with it? Most people, desperate for cash just to buy food, sold their vouchers for next to nothing, sometimes for a bottle of vodka. And who was buying? A new class of insiders was emerging. Former KGB officials, shrewd black marketeers, and ambitious party functionaries. They knew exactly how valuable these assets were. They understood the game while everyone else was just trying to survive. These well-connected individuals began accumulating vouchers by the thousands, consolidating ownership of Russia's crown jewels for a pittance. This was the birth of the oligarchs. Men who were virtually unknown a few years earlier suddenly became billionaires. They didn't build these industries, they simply took them. Picture this: a massive Siberian oil company worth billions of dollars in global markets, being sold for the price of a luxury apartment in London. This happened over and over again. Natural resource companies, media empires, manufacturing plants, entire sectors of the Russian economy were snapped up. This wasn't privatization, it was a fire sale. And the Western advisors, they either didn't see it or didn't care. Their free market ideology was the hammer, and every problem looked like a nail. The result was economic carnage. Russia's GDP plummeted, male life expectancy dropped. An entire nation was plunged into poverty and despair, while a handful of men became richer than kings. So, where did all this wealth go? It didn't stay in Russia. The new oligarchs, fearing political instability and the potential for their assets to be renationalized, immediately began moving their money offshore. They bought mansions in London, yachts on the French Riviera, and most importantly, they funneled billions into the Western financial system. They invested in American stocks, bought U.S. Treasury bonds, and parked their money in New York real estate. In essence, the wealth of the former Soviet Union was vacuumed up and injected directly into the American and global economy. This massive infusion of capital helped fuel the dot-com boom of the 1990s. The U.S. stock market soared. It was a golden age for American finance, bankrolled by the collapse of its former rival. This leads us to the hidden angle, the part of the story that's rarely discussed. The Cold War didn't really end. It just changed hands. The United States was no longer facing a rival superpower with a competing ideology. Instead, it was now at the center of a global financial system that it completely dominated. The very oligarchs who had plundered Russia were now dependent on American banks and Western markets to protect their wealth. The U.S. dollar became more powerful than ever. With no military or economic peer, America was free to act as it pleased on the world stage. It could invade countries, impose sanctions, and dictate terms to the rest of the world with little to no consequence. The fall of the Soviet Union didn't lead to a multipolar world of equals. It created a unipolar moment, an era of absolute American dominance built on the economic ruins of its old adversary. The consequences of this global heist are still playing out today. The deep-seated resentment in Russia over the wild 90s is a key factor in its current political landscape. It helps explain the rise of a strongman leader promising to restore national pride and push back against the West. The concentration of wealth in the hands of a few oligarchs created a system of crony capitalism that continues to stifle genuine economic development in Russia. And for the United States, the unipolar moment was intoxicating. It led to a sense of overconfidence, a belief that it could remake the world in its own image, leading to a series of foreign policy adventures that have had mixed and often disastrous results. The story of the Soviet collapse is a cautionary tale. It shows how idealistic economic theories can have devastating human consequences. It reveals how, in moments of great chaos, the powerful and well-connected can rewrite the rules to their own advantage. It wasn't a simple victory of one system over another. It was a hostile takeover on a global scale. The end of the Cold War left America untouchable, not just because its rival disappeared, but because it absorbed its rival's wealth, solidifying a new kind of empire, a financial one, with Washington and Wall Street at its very core. The world we live in today, with all its inequalities and power imbalances, was forged in the fire of that collapse. What do you think? Was this the greatest heist in modern history? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this dive into the hidden chapters of history as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching.